Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we're doing some war vids again. So this is Season 52 War 1, SSX versus PYCB, and today I'm using Killmonger, Spider-Punk and Void. This is the Provocateur Secutor attack tactic, the one with the heal block and the power gain and regen. So this first fight is pretty simple. It's just Killmonger versus Spider-Ham on the regen node. So while it's playing out, I'm just going to explain what I'm trying to do this season. So normally when I do war vids, I kind of record it and go through it and really seriously go through and try and make sure it's all accurate and stuff like that. But it takes a lot of time and it ends up getting me burnt out throughout the season. That's why I've only started to do these war vids halfway through. But instead, I'm just going to voice over it live. If I make some mistakes, then apologies, but hopefully it means that I can get more of these out. It also might mean, because I'm a little bit behind, I will start off by doing a couple of voiceovers for these first 5 or 6 wars that have already happened, and then I'll maybe upload a couple of them without any commentary. But hopefully we can catch up, hopefully we can get some voiceovers for some good fights. So with that out of the way, you saw how Killmonger vs. Ham went. All fine. That's the only fight for Killmonger, and we move on to this Spider-Punk versus Magneto. So Punk versus Magneto here, I'm using his evade to get my openings. Magneto's going to be unblockable for a lot of this fight, so you're going to see me go for intercepts, use the stun to get my openings. Punk has his Encore passive, which means as soon as Magneto uses one special, he's likely to use more. Punk's really good for the tactic because we're going to be applying a lot of debuffs anytime we intercept or use that evade when Magneto is dashing at us, or when we use a heavy to apply a taunt. Also, whenever we get the Encore from his Sig, which applies a rupture, that'll count towards tactic as well, and using the L2 will apply a few debuffs as well. Punk is very, very safe for this tactic. He's also a lot of fun to use. I've seen a lot of people complaining about him, thinking he's bad, but hopefully throughout this season, you'll see that he can actually do some stuff. So I do make a few mistakes in this fight. I get hit by an intercept there, and I think I take another combo a little bit later. But overall, the safety for a fully unblockable Magneto is great. It might look like I'm going for some crazy intercepts here, but Punk's abilities really play into this. So yeah, you see me take another combo there. So while I have the evade, I can use that to get an opening, but while it's on cooldown, if I'm ever going to get intercepted, then I trigger the counter evade anyway. So he has a lot of safety. You just have to watch out for getting parried, but throughout this season, you're going to see me be able to use that to my advantage a lot. Next up, we're going to move into section 2. We're going to be taking a 5B Dust. So this is the ebb and flow intercept node. This has Sadist as well, so we've got to watch out for how many debuffs we're applying. Luckily, Punk is very, very safe. I'm just going to be playing this one nice and steady, making sure I'm just baiting out the specials, getting my intercepts to build up the tactic. And like I said, if I ever do get intercepted by the opponent, while that evade is on cooldown, I'll just evade and stay safe. I'm going to be baiting out Dust's L1. I don't really want to be taking her L2 on block because I know that I can very safely bait the L1 and then get my opening using his evade. But I also just want to be keeping on with that Encore passive, because every time the opponent uses the same special that they just used, there's a chance to apply a rupture. This chance scales with Sig. My one's, I think my Punk's around Sig 26, something like that. So it's not a massive chance, but it is very useful nonetheless. So I'm just keeping on baiting these specials, making sure that we're not taking any unnecessary risks. A lot of the time you're going to see me just kind of relax or parry rather than go for an intercept. I don't need to rush this fight, and it's one that I want to be really purposeful about when I'm making any decision. I want to make sure that I'm doing the safe thing. So I'm not taking any unnecessary risks. I'm just making sure she goes down nice and safely. And it's not a massively slow fight. There are better options for it, but this is what worked out with planning, and I'm making sure that I'm using my L2 when there's plenty of time left on the ebb and flow so that it doesn't come back and purify those debuffs. And she goes down nice and safely. Next up, I've got this Destroyer, and I personally think that Punk is the safest option for this fight. I'll take it a lot of times this season, and it goes pretty nicely every time. Punk has a lot of safety and a lot of tools in his kit to be able to take this fight. So the main thing is his riposte style counter evade. So you'll see I dash back, let Destroyer dash at me, which means that his unstoppable gets taken off and I can now just intercept him safely. The tactic will apply the charges on my side even if I intercept him and he's debuff immune. The tactic's only looking for debuffs being attempted to be placed rather than actually placing them. So that's a nice bit that Punk has as well. Intercepting will still ramp up the tactic. And then I can throw my L2 and apply 3 to 4 debuffs if I get all of my prompts right on the guitar game. And yeah, Destroyer's going down very, very nicely. So I throw this into protection knowing that it does nice damage even without the protection down. And I just really want to take this fight very safely. I mean, we're only a minute in and he's almost down. I just bait out these couple of special ones to keep him ticking down. And while the Fury's still up, we go for the kill and it takes him down. So very nice fight. So moving on to this Enchantress on Bubble Shield root node. I was very worried about this fight. It's a tough one. And yeah, Punk is pretty good for her. His evade allows you to take care of a lot of the spells. So we're going to bait out this initial heavy and I'm going to punish. Luckily it doesn't miss, but then we're going to dash back, which counts as an intercept, but she doesn't go for it. So we let her come back in one more time. And then if she had her purple spell up as well, I would have just heavied after that. So you can take away her spells pretty nicely as long as you get that initial heavy one. The tactic does help when it's a miss because it will just allow you to bypass that. Sometimes I do get lucky and it doesn't miss, but like at the start there. Unfortunately, she throws that special one into me while I'm rooted and blocking, so I take a little bit of a burst of damage reflect. I was hoping to take away her spells beforehand. So we take away the green, then orange, then purple with the evade combo into a knockdown, like I said. And then I'm just going to push her a little bit higher because she does drain her own power after using a special one, or if she uses an L2, then I can just take it on block. So she's nearly done. I'm still in a bit of a risk. She throws one last special one pretty much into block there, so I've got to take away this last spell, allowing myself to do a bit more damage, and we close out the fight there. A little bit panicky, but overall he handles that fight very well. Now we move on to Mordo on power efficiency Falter. So one aspect of the node with the Falter is just handled by having the heal block from the tactic. As I said before, that does counter miss. Punk, on the other hand, counters power efficiency very well. Not directly, but he benefits from them throwing multiple specials in a row. So we're just going to be baiting out Mordo's special one over and over and over again, meaning that we can apply those ruptures and tick him down pretty nicely. There's that safety net that I mentioned earlier in the war vid. You can just dash in, and if he tries to intercept you, you'll evade out of it. Additionally, the passive stuns will allow you to get your openings against Mordo, unlike a lot of other champs, so there's another nice bit of safety just there. And yeah, we're just going to be keeping on baiting these special ones and letting him kill himself, really. Punk has a lot of tools to counter this fight and the tactics, so there's not many champs I would assign over this. Cassie's another great option, but Punk just has incredible flow for war. Like, his safety with the damage reduction on specials and the taunt and the special bias from Encore itself just adds up to a very nice war champ, and he handles that fight incredibly well. And then Punk's last fight of the war, we are going to be taking this Mephisto on polka dot power. You might not think I would be using Punk for this when I have Void on the team, but I figured that as soon as Mephisto throws 2 specials in a row and we get the proc from his SIG, it means we can just start gaining power over time. So the nice thing about polka dot power is that you need a debuff of around 8 seconds in order to get 1 bar of power. So if I start with PS1, and then we get one of our 10-second ruptures, it means I can then get to an SP2. So really, I'm going to be baiting out 2 L1s from Mephisto, hoping that it procs a rupture. If not, then I just bait another one. So we baited our first one, baited our second one, and hoped for a rupture proc, but there wasn't one. So we just push him back to one more special one. We can use his aura to do that as well. Even though the heal block does reduce it a little bit, it is still nice to get him back up to that next special. Bait this out, and as soon as this rupture procs, we can get up to our L2. Once that happens, I can just step back into it and keep it going. So we throw this L2, apply 4 ruptures, and this just starts ticking him down, and every time he throws that same special and triggers another encore rupture, just adds to the damage. Punk is very, very safe for this. I can pretty much just kind of tap him once and go in and avoid the aura, or I can wait for the rupture to take me back up to another L2 and stay out of range that way. So I would definitely assign Punk over Void for that one. I thought he worked really well. Final fight of this war will be taking this Wong boss. So Void is my option here. The reason I brought Killmonger was, well, firstly for that ham, but I wanted him on the team so that we could regen. They have a nice synergy where Void regens 1% of his max health every time he applies one of his intimidating presence debuffs, so SB1 or the timer. Void is a very, very good Wong boss option. The kind of the main thing that you're looking out for is trying not to let Wong throw a special one during his blue mode. The way I like to start the fight is bait out 1 heavy from him so he gets rid of his unstoppable, and then we can get our openings either by baiting heavies or intercepting or whatever he lets us do. And yeah, at the start of the fight especially, he has no energy, so he doesn't gain much power from it. And then as soon as we get a couple petrifies up or the heal block from the tactic, he can no longer gain power from doing that. So I'm fine with him throwing heavies as long as it's under control. I did try and do a heavy counter there, but unfortunately my control didn't come through. So unfortunately we lose our read debuffs pretty early on. So that's a big chunk of damage we're not allowed to use anymore. And in some sense, a bit of safety as well. So I'm just going to be baiting out his L1s or his L2 whenever it kind of fits. I'm not really bothered about which one he throws. I've just got to watch out for him not having unstoppable when he does throw his L2. So if he does have a heavy, I'll just be holding block and stopping him using special. And whenever he's in his blue spell, I'm going to be holding block, trying to bait out a heavy again, or push him to L2. So that's the main thing that I'm kind of handling in this fight. And you'll see every so often, whenever I apply an intimidating presence debuff, I do gain a little tick of regen, and that helps keep me topped up from any block damage. I'll be looking to get rid of his energy as well whenever he gets to 100, saving my relic and throwing a heavy just like that, or I will be heavy countering his L1, which is pretty easy to do. Void is very good for this fight. Another nice thing that is that if he did throw an L1 and that was during his blue spell, it would mean that anytime I dex or gain a buff in any other way, I would have a chance to give him an unstoppable passive, and that's where Wong really starts to spiral if you get cornered or if you can't dex or anything like that. Void's dashback is really nice. It's got a really kind of shallow dex aspect to it, and that means that you can practice shallow dexing his L1s without even letting him dex the special and gaining that buff. I think towards the end of this fight I do get him to use a blue spell. Maybe that's another video that I'm remembering, but overall Void handles this fight extremely well. Unfortunately I threw that L1 into the mist there, but Wong doesn't punish us, and I'm just going to try and sort out the rest of this fight pretty safely. So we're in a very good position, step back into that relic there, and I just combo him down. And then kind of, yeah, so he throws this blue special one. Now he's going to be unstoppable if I dex. I've already got the buff, so I'm just going to kind of stick in the corner and let him tick down the rest of the way. But yeah, that was my war. It went really well, and like I said, I'll try and do more of these, but in the meantime, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.